1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Off the Rails,
a podcast where we talk about anything and everything while trying to stay on topic. I'm Justin.
And I'm Natasia.
And today's topic is cultural identity crises.
Yeah.
We've had many. Well, I've had many. I don't know about you guys.
No, that's why we're talking about it, all three of us,
Yep.
because we all have experienced it. And our
me.
one extra person today, she's our most dedicated fan and friend. What is your name?
My name is Alysha Summerville.
Hello, Alysha Summerville.
Hello.
How are you
Hey.
today?
I'm doing well. I'm tired, but I'm doing well.
Me too. So, today we're going to talk about all of our identity crises. Because,
Do you mean crises?
crises, yes,
Yeah.
true. But I feel like for me, the biggest one is like I've accepted the fact that I'm whitewashed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a pressing issue.
I mean, it's not like I'm literally not white, but like I've accepted the fact that my other half is just, I'm just not.
oh yeah,
in
wait,
it.
let's go down and list our ethnicities.
Okay. Oh, Jesus.
I am
Our
What?
ethnicities.
I'm 100% Vietnamese.
I am American, 50% American, I'm white, and then 50% I am Malaysian. Yes.
Okay, so essentially, I am by race 50% South Asian, like Indian, and then 50% a whole bunch of white European countries. But I have many citizenships. I have like 5, but race I'm half and half.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, being the most
Ethnic.
and undiluted,
Oh, dangerous territory here.
Sometimes I feel as though I relate more to the white society than my Asian Vietnamese side, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that's only a thing, like, for me, because we honestly don't see that much, like, Asian or, like, other race, like, African, Asian, anybody else other than, like, white people.
Yeah.
At least for a long time it was like that, but now they're, like, including, I mean, what...
Yeah. I think a lot of it, like the fact that I've given up so much of like my Indian heritage and I don't outwardly express it as much is because of school, but not in the way that, you remember when we had the DEI assembly and there were these alumni who said like SAS made me feel embarrassed and I was bullied about my race and my culture. Like it was never like that for me.
Yeah.
I never was like being told that I should be embarrassed about being Indian.
Yeah.
I just never saw it around me, and so I was like, okay, well, this is not what everybody else does. It's not the norm, so I'm just gonna tone it down. And then I like just kept doing it.
I get it. For me, it's I think I was just never exposed to actual like culture. Like,
True.
Despite living in Asia, like I still surround myself with like American culture. So all I've ever known is American culture. Even at home, everything's kind of Western rather than like Asian. Like the only Asian thing I eat is like the food. But other than that,
Wait,
That's true. That's
is
the
true.
only thing, because because I relate so much to that, because like, okay, my mom is like full Asian, but like she never spoke to me in Mandarin or Hokkien or anything like that. And we also, even though like the only connection I really have to like Asian culture is like the food, I don't really like eat Asian food that much at home anyways. I like eat pasta and like stuff like that and like burgers and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just like I was never really surrounded by any of that either, so I don't really know anything.
yeah.
I think like my mom is fully Indian and she grew up in a very traditional Indian household, but like she doesn't have an Indian accent. Like she grew up in Canada, but she's still like, I think Indian culture in our household is very periodical. Like once a week, my mom will make Indian food and we will eat it and enjoy it. It's a once a week Saturday thing. And then once a year we will dress up and celebrate Diwali, and then we'll do like the sibling ceremony, which is another time in the year, and those are the two things that we do, and we kind of like check off.
That's like me with Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
I'll just take the money.
Yeah, and then I feel guilty for like reaping the benefits of getting money from my aunts and uncles in Diwali, and like being able to eat all this nice food and then not embracing my culture the rest of the year.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, there's a lot of guilt there.
I think one thing I definitely regret is just not learning a lot about my culture.
Not learning a language is my biggest
That's because it's like it is literally a language barrier between you and your family history,
Yes.
your other family members that are able to speak the language. And like I just felt like, for example, like I would go back to Malaysia like once a year for Chinese New Year and like family reunions and stuff, and then they would all be speaking Hokkien to each other, and then I would just like my mom would have to like translate things for me because I couldn't speak to them.
Yes.
And it's like, it's fine, and they get that I can't speak it, but it's just like, there's like always going to be that disconnect for me from my family members.
Do you ever get shamed by your family members? Like, my grandpa and grandma, like, would always tell my mom, like, why don't they speak Vietnamese?
Yeah, like my oldest, like the oldest family members, like because obviously they're most like traditional and stuff in my family, and they'd be like learning Chinese is so good for you and blah 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 blah, and they'd be like, why don't you learn it? And I just have to tell them I'm learning Spanish. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I think like the person that got the most of that like disapproval from the older generations was my mom. Like, it doesn't really transfer to me. My mom met my dad, and then she waited 2 years to introduce him, and my uncle said to my mom, I would rather you kill yourself than marry a white guy. And they wouldn't, my mom's parents and my mom's siblings wouldn't let my dad marry my mom for 7 more years. So they were like dating this whole time, and like now it's so wild because now those same people are like in love with my dad and they totally are fine with him, but like they were just conditioned from like a young age to think that like white was bad. But like for me, there isn't that much disapproval with the older members of my family that I don't speak the language, for example, like because they see me dressed up for like the events when I go see them at weddings, or like if we go visit them in Diwali, and they're like happy with that, but their instinct is to talk to me in Gujarati, and then I'll be like, sorry, like I don't understand what you're saying, and you'll see for a second they'll be like, oh, but then it'll be fine, and then somebody will help me translate, I guess, which is I still feel like I'm missing out on a lot. Like when people tell jokes in that language and everyone laughs, and I'm like, why is that funny? Why are we laughing? And then I'll just laugh because I don't want to be like the only one not.
Right.
It's definitely at like these events where I feel like most disconnected of everyone, because like the only people I can actually talk to are the people who speak English fluently.
Yeah.
Because like, so like during Lunar New Year when everyone's like dressed up in like the traditional clothes, and I'm like there pulling up in like my jeans because I don't own that much.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, hey, and then they're all like speaking to me in Vietnamese. It's just so hard to like tell them like, oh, I don't know anything about this.
It's just embarrassing for me.
Yeah.
Like, but it's also like, I mean, you're fully Vietnamese, but for me, like, I am a little bit white. So like, it's kind of obvious. Like, I don't know if it's not like, it's only a big thing for me. Like, I don't think my other family members like really care that much, but for me, it was always like, I felt like I was a black sheep in the family and stuff. And also, like, when my dad used to come for, like, family reunions and stuff, they'd always be like, oh, like, hey, and then they treat my dad, like, differently or something because he's white, and I'm like...
Yes.
I mean, I get he, like, stands out and stuff, but, like, I just always felt like I was different, and I didn't like... I also just don't normally like being in a... Not, like, a spotlight, but, like...
Center. The only one out.
Like, I don't like feeling like I'm in the middle of the dance circle. And then I'm like, you know.
Yeah. I think for me, it's less of a black sheep thing, but for me, being half white and half Indian. But it's more like I feel guilty for enjoying the parts of Indian culture that I do enjoy, because I'm like, do I have a right to, like, okay, this is a weird example, and it's like an example with like friends and not necessarily family, but like I say curry muncher, am I allowed to say that? Because I'm only half Indian.
That's honestly true.
Right?
I feel that.
And I like make jokes about Indians, and I'm like, wait, it's acceptable for Indians to do this, but do I count? Because I'm literally half, and I don't go through the same oppression that like other people do. And then also, I'm like, do I have a right to make fun of white people as an Indian person because I'm also white? Like, when I make jokes to Caroline, our friend who is white, I'm like, well, that's because you're white. Then I have to be like, wait, hang on a minute, because I also am.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It's weird.
I do that all the time, though. I still make white jokes.
Me too. They're so easy.
It's true. But
for me, I feel like I also get really sad when I'm speaking to my grandparents and like I'm just like talking in English and they're trying so hard to translate what I'm saying. When it should be the other way around. But I have zero capability to like understand a few words of Vietnamese. So like then they like try to speak back to me and I feel so bad.
Yeah.
Because like I know they're struggling and I'm not.
true.
And then the conversations you do end up having are like very surface level because you can't talk about anything else. And then you don't connect with your family.
Yeah.
It's true. But I feel like I also, like, my family... I'm, like, really, like, walking on eggshells right now. Because, like... I don't know how to, like, word this the right way, but...
It's fine, just try.
Offend.
Be
offensive.
Well, she's good at that, but...
True. She has no part.
Sorry.
It's... Okay, but, it's just, like, I also feel like I just can't connect on I can only connect with them on a surface level kind of playing field. And I'm like, oh, how is school? How are you doing? How are your pets, if you have any? I don't know, like, what to ask them. And, like, also, my mom always has to be there to facilitate the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, I can't, like, have my own connection with each family member without having my mom there.
Do you feel like people know you in your families as, like, so-and-so's grandkid or so-and-so's kid instead of, like, this is Alysha, Natasha, or Justin?
Yes, because I have that with my cousins. Every time, like, I have older cousins, and, like, they are more in the immersed. Yeah, it's like and it's just that they are able to speak it, and then he, like, okay, I have this one cousin, and they address him by name. It's like, oh, like, hey, your name. And then, like, let's just say his name is John. Like, they'll be like, hey, John. And then when they see me, they're like, oh, Melissa's daughter, Shinyi. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, they'll simply be like, Manjula Napatiche, which is, like, Manjula's granddaughter, or, like, Sushma's daughter, they'll say.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I never get addressed by name unless I've known them for my whole life, and they've met me many times, and then it kind of gets stuck in their brain. And it's it's a little thing to not be called by your name, but then when there's all these other things where, like, you don't understand the, Justin.
All of these things.
I did not mean, call me when you want. No.
Not in this conversation.
Not in this one. It's not appropriate. Sorry, I have imagery in my mind right now. Okay, sorry. It's like little things adding up and not understanding the conversations, the jokes, like not feeling like you're in a costume when you wear the traditional clothes rather than like your clothes, because that's definitely what it feels like. Like things like that, they add up, and then you just kind of feel like you're putting on a performance.
Yeah. For me, why do I keep saying that?
For me.
Yeah.
But for me,
yes.
my family's actually very, like, it's always been about, like, connecting with each other. So, like, everyone knows me by my first name. But it's, like, the cousins are all, like, a little whitewashed.
Well, at least, like, you guys have each other to do that.
We talk to each other, right? But, like, I can't talk to anyone older than my mom's generation and my dad's generation. I can't talk to anyone older than that, or because they won't understand me, or, like...
Where did your cousins grow up?
Everyone grew up in the States.
See, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like all the older generations grew up somewhere else, or
and
were raised by people that grew up somewhere else.
Over.
And then they, like, my cousins grew up in Canada, and they are very whitewashed, and they speak Gujarati at a very surface level ability.
For my family, everybody's in Malaysia. No, I don't think, like, my mom left. My grandparents are both still in Malaysia, and obviously their family's still in Malaysia. Like, they've just been there pretty much forever. It's not like they haven't traveled, but it's just like they've stayed there forever.
Yeah.
They've never lived anywhere else.
Yeah, I think it was because we were all, like, you know, your favorite cousin, like,
Yeah,
is, like,
I know which one I'm talking
the person you relate to most.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, my favorite cousin is, hey Natalie, if you ever watch this. So we're both very much whitewashed. She's like literally half. She's a halfie. And we both don't understand like anything that's going on. We're just with each other, love each other's company. And that's like sort of the vibe of the cousins. On like the cousins who live in Seattle, we are all very disconnected from the Vietnamese culture. Cousins in California are more connected. Because like I think just because like they were kind of brought up in that way, because like in Seattle everyone's like very far from each other, so we don't really get together a lot and talk. But I think what hurts the most is like the fact that like I know that one of my cousins, like the older ones, feels so guilty when right now he's a dentist, right? So like his last name is this is a fun fact. So everyone pronounces my last name as Tran, but it's not actually Tran. You pronounce it Jun, right?
Ooh.
So,
Girl.
but I just say Tran because I know it's just easier for people to say, right? Yeah.
That's a point.
Like, right. So when he has a client that's Vietnamese and they see his last name, and they start talking to him in Vietnamese because they assume that he should know it.
Oh.
He said he feels so guilty when he says he can't speak it. Because his clients are coming in with the expectation that, like, oh, he can actually communicate with me, but he really can't.
But also, is it fair for people to have that expectation of people? Like, if you see someone that has a certain last name or, like, looks a certain way, to expect that they'll be able to relate to the same culture in the way that you do?
I feel like it's not fair, but I feel like I should.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I feel like I'm obligated to.
Exactly.
Because, like, so much comes with, like, your name. Right, and like even like my last name, the fact that I kind of.
But like everybody makes assumptions about pretty much everything.
Yeah.
True.
So I mean, I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like
I just feel obligated to.
I feel like I would say I would agree, but only because I know if I was somebody else and I was able to speak Mandarin or speak whatever it is, then I would say like. That's fair.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though, is even though we all feel so disconnected from our cultures, at least for me, I know that I will, in conversations with people who aren't from my culture, like if I'm the only one, I will jump to be the representative of my culture.
That's
like,
true.
I remember one time you texted me and you were ordering Indian food and you're like, paneer makhni is the same thing as butter chicken, right? And I was like, I laughed because I was like, no, paneer makhni is paneer makhni and butter chicken is chicken. But in my mind, I was like, oh, she's coming to me as like resident Indian. Like I love, like it's so bad. I feel like I don't want to say fetishizing my own culture. That's not the correct word. That's not the word I'm looking for. But like, I feel like I will jump at the chance to represent. If like someone's like, I want to make this dish or I want to learn how to say this thing or I know about this part. I want them to come to me about it. Even though I know that my knowledge of it maybe is not as good as somebody else's.
But it just feels like they're validating
your culture, yes!
That you are
Yes.
from your culture, even though you feel that disconnect and you don't really feel like you're a part of it. But if somebody else recognizes you like it feels like that.
Wait, that was a moment in my brain. I never made that connection.
You guys witnessed
until
it
just
here.
now.
Validation.
Dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's like another conversation.
Getting validated?
Yeah, by other people.
Oh,
It's just one thing when you're like it just feels like I'm on my own a lot of the time, like in this issue, the struggle. But I mean, I know like a lot of people from our school also, maybe, I don't know also, but maybe they experience the same thing because we go to an American school, so
An
like
American,
everybody, there is no one that doesn't have an American accent. Most people have
Most
an
people.
American accent.
99%.
And it's just that, like, it just feels like everybody's the same. I don't know.
And then we have, like, elements in our school that, like, try to remind us that we're not the same. Like, in the middle school library, there are all the flags of all the countries of people that go to the school. And, like, there's UN Day in the elementary school where you dress up for your culture. But you know what's so funny is that people have started... This started when I was in elementary school and we had UN Day, because you're supposed to bring, like, a food that represents your culture. And already, people would bring whiteified versions of their cultural food. When it was... Like, I brought... Okay, first of all, I was going to go as being an Indian person, wear an Indian outfit, bring Indian food. But then I was like, what if the Indian food smells? Because it always smells when we cook it in my house, and it doesn't smell bad, but it has a smell. So I went as Canadian instead, and I brought a Canadian Nanaimo bars, which are like custard chocolate things. But like people would bring samosas, but then inside the samosas would be like chicken pot pie. Like they'd be chicken pot pie samosas. Like they wouldn't be like
That's just chicken pot pie in a triangle.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. And like people would bring Korean food, but it would be like, I don't even remember, but I remember that it was like, it had like mozzarella cheese and like it was like a like modern whiteified version of a Korean
You know
dish.
what? Like around here where we live, like in hawker centers and stuff, they're like making, have you seen like they make pasta in like the hawker centers? I'm like, this
is supposed to be Singaporean culture.
Yeah, right? And I'm just like, I feel like everywhere in the world is so influenced by like Western civilization or like Western
Westward
anything.
expansion.
And even though the majority of people who go to hawker centers are local Singaporeans, they're still trying to cater to a Western audience.
Yes, that's true.
Which is so weird because why do we put Western above everything? I mean, I know why. Centuries of putting Western above everything. But like, even in Singapore, which is such a local country, like expats are, like, I mean, I guess there are more and more of them, but it's still very much a local Singaporean community. Like,
but it's also that, like, there's a weird in-between where a bunch of Asians are kind of criticizing you for not being Asian, for not, like, acting Asian or being actually Asian. And then when you go to, like, America, you shouldn't be Asian at all. So then you're like, okay, so should I try to learn about my heritage or embrace my inside white boy, you know?
Yeah.
you know what's so funny? This shows up.
White boy.
This shows up on Singapore TikTok. There are people, local Singaporeans, who make TikToks and they're like, when you see international students, like American students, do you get scared of them? And everyone in the comments is like, yes, I'm so scared of them. But then the next TikTok they make will be like, trying the new, like, insert American brand, clothing brand, food brand, whatever, like, that just came to Singapore. So it's and we do it too. Like,
yeah,
we'll drink bubble tea, you know, but then we won't go to certain parts of Singapore that aren't, like, at least to some degree, like, westernized.
Yeah. But even bubble tea has been kind of colonized.
True.
Colonized.
Literally look at bubble tea in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's
like,
so true.
I think a lot of Asian, or at least for me, like, a lot of my Asian identity has been, as you said, whiteified. Because, like, it's all I've ever really known. Like, I grew up around white people.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if I'm, like, going to change the subject or, like, a little shift something else. But, like, you know, like, in College Board, when I first signed up for College Board, I was, like, you know, like, putting in all my credentials and stuff. And then I got to, like, the race part, and there was Caucasian, and then there was Asian, and then there was, like, I don't know what it was. I was like
Pacific Islander. There's always a Pacific Islander question.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know.
Like, if you're Hispanic, which I don't understand.
I clicked Hispanic. I'm kidding, but but I was just like, I stared at it, and I just like, I clicked Caucasian and Asian because that's technically what I am, but I just don't feel it. I don't feel that I'm Asian. So I like identify like as white. Like, I am white, but I am also Asian. Like, I don't feel that Asian connection.
So you say, like, if you were to put your race in a hierarchy, But would come first? Like, you identify more with the white culture than
Let's clarify,
the
yeah.
Asian.
Identification hierarchy,
Oh, yeah.
not hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would identify with being white more than Asian.
I would say yes.
I like avoid this conversation at all costs when people ask me like, where are you from? Like, what are you? I mean, when someone asks where are you from, they're not asking for your race, but like kind of, you know, different versions of the question can imply different things.
Like, where are you from?
Yeah, but like my default is to be like, I'm Canadian or I'm American or I'll give a passport. Like, I'll give a nationality. I won't get into the race because I don't want to. And you'll see their brains their brain gears turning a little bit. You see them trying to figure you out. Mm-hmm. But you know, that's their job. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just don't want to get into it. Okay, but one thing, this is also changing the subject. But like one thing I've thought about a lot is the fact that if me and my brother, who are already pretty white, in terms of our internal structure, but like if we don't if we don't actively work to pass on the parts of culture that we understand to our kids, and like my cousins too, who are very whitewashed, that will be the end of like Indian culture in my family. And I get so worried. I already don't speak the language. I already can only make the number of dishes that I had to learn how to make so I can put them in my Catalyst cookbook. Like, I know a bare minimum, and I already feel like I'm not informed enough to pass it on to my kids, but I want to do everything I can because otherwise it's going to be lost. And it's still an important part of me, even if I'm not like outwardly expressive of it.
That's true. I hardly ever think about that. It's just so easy for me to like absorb my own problems, but then I don't think about like afterwards, like how is this going to impact my family later on, and like I have this identity crisis. What about my children? Like what if they have their own crisis because I didn't do anything about it?
And then I try and like picture like, okay, if I marry this kind of person, then my kids are gonna end up this way, like in terms of race or nationality. And I'm like, you know, it's also weird. I always have said to myself like, I don't want to marry an Indian person, and I don't know why. Like, I do not have an explanation. It's just a weird thing. If I wanted to pass on Indian culture to my kids, wouldn't I want to marry an Indian person? Like, it's a weird thing, but I just have always thought that. I don't know.
I think for me, it's a lot about, like, I know for a fact that I don't have the ability to pass on much Asian heritage. Like, I can't even cook any
Period.
Period.
Okay, I can cook some eggs. Give me some credit. Cereal, got it down.
Cook cereal.
Cook cereal?
Yeah.
Assemble
Boil
cereal?
Boil the milk?
Yeah. What? Excuse me? Sorry, hold on. Sorry, we need to pause. She said boil milk to put with cereal.
I expect nothing else from her but to boil milk. I think that, like the fact, like, I can make spaghetti. I can make Alfredo. I can make risotto on a good day. What type of dishes are those? Italian.
They're the ones that Americans eat.
Yes.
Alfredo is not even an Italian dish.
You know what? Carbonara, like carbonara, like you put egg in it?
Yeah.
You're not even supposed to put egg in it.
No, you are.
No, not the egg. I mean the
cream, the cream sauce. Yeah, you're not supposed to put that in.
Not the egg. I meant the cream.
Bitch. Sorry.
That's what I meant. Continue.
Yeah. Anyways, like,
I'm so embarrassed.
Everything I can make is not Asian. Like, the thing I can make that is Asian is like instant ramen.
I can cook some rice.
That's the bare minimum.
I can't even make rice. I tried to once I burned it.
Well, listen, I can boil, like, I can put it in the rice cooker and make
that's
rice.
what I meant, the rice cooker,
but
not in a pot.
That's the peak. Like, I can't do anything else. Like, I don't know what to do with the rice, or like how to like season meat in an Asian way or something like that. So like, I know that I cannot really pass Asian culture to my kids.
If I have my dad seasoning chicken with pepper and salt, I don't think I can do anything.
It's really funny because my dad will make steak and we will have rare, bloody cow meat on our dinner table.
But you like it.
I love it. No, I love it. Stop looking at me like that. Rare steak is really good. We agree on this. But
you eat rare steak?
It's so weird.
I do medium rare.
Medium rare is also good. I think medium rare is really good, actually. Medium rare is good. Medium?
Yeah.
Anyways, my
I like
point
that.
was, it's weird because in Indian culture, steak is the biggest no-no, or Hindu culture, I guess I would say. Steak is like the biggest no-no because cows are so sacred. And it's so weird because my mom will prepare this full like dal bhat shak roti, like this full Indian meal, and then my dad will put a steak on the table with just salt and pepper seasoning
That
on
juxtaposition.
there. And it's, yeah, it is. And it's so weird. One time my dad was like, should I season the steak with like Indian flavors so that it goes well with the meal? And my mom was like, no. What are you gonna put on it? Turmeric? Like chili? Like what? Anyways, I thought
That's some spicy steak.
bulgogi? That's Korean. What is wrong?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so hungry now. We're just talking about food.
I know, but
Let's move on from food.
yeah, let's
but like let's put in our final thoughts. Like for me, I definitely. It's like when I check, like I have no other choice but to check the Asian box, right? But like, I don't really.
Sorry, that was my chair.
I don't really. When I check it, I really don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like
me too.
I check it, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Like it's not anything I actually relate to. And I think for me, I want to be better at learning my culture and like really getting into it. But sometimes I think to myself like it's too late. Like I'm already like I'm literally 17, about to go to college. There's no way I can actually get the full blown Vietnamese.
But
culture bomb.
what better time to start than now?
Sorry, he just said how it was not a good time to start. True.
You mean
true,
like it's
true.
summer?
I mean, like, if you were, I mean,
It is a good time.
no. Okay, what I meant to say was, like, you're still gonna have this crisis later.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And, like, you can't, there's no time machine. There's no
True.
Spy Kids 4.
Oh, I
So,
miss Spy Kids. Sorry.
so, like, I mean, this is the best time because this is the soonest you're ever gonna be able to do anything. But it's not like I'm willing to take action either.
That's what
I
I'm
will be
saying.
honest.
No, it's like I say I have this like identity crisis and I need to fix it, but I just don't really take the steps to do so.
It's like a nice thought to have, but then it's just always like, what I don't really like. How important is it to me?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like introspection and then no action. Just think about it.
Yeah,
forever.
exactly. It's like I'm always
Very
in a
much
state
Instagram
of
activism type beat.
True. Performative. I just had to put that word in here at some point.
true.
Surface? What is
It's very surface level.
No, I was gonna say a word, then I forgot it.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I know that's.
This was our first recorded thing, so like I hope
Yeah.
you guys enjoyed watching us instead of like just listening.
Yeah, this is kind of rough, but
It was a good discussion.
No, rough ending.
Rough end.
Rough
Because there's
ending.
no end. How are you gonna expect 3 idiots to
speak
to
for
solve a
yourself.
race crisis?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you learned a lot about, just know that if you have a race crisis thing going on,
We are having it too.
We're
with you. We're all
Okay, so
in
it.
this.
No, okay. Anyways,
Sorry.
just know that you are not alone, and I think
Jeez.
if you do want to take some actions, like just try at least. Like talk to your parents even. Like
Yeah.
I literally told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want you for one day to only speak Vietnamese to me.
I told my mom too about Gujarati.
I refuse to speak English to you, right? And it went bad.
I
so
would be
quickly.
mute for a day.
No, but like even that is also.
Any little obscure tiny thing you do, like you learn one dish, you learn one word, it's like more than nothing.
That's progress.
It's
more than
progress.
progress.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Precisely.
And if you're gonna take baby steps forever, that's fine too.
Well, thank you guys for
Baby
listening.
steps to the outro.
Well, thank you guys for listening. If you'd like to be updated on our podcast, you can follow us at offtherails.pod on Instagram.
True.
Or if you want to follow us personally, you can follow me at justin.tram with 2 T's in the Justin.
And at Natasha Roach.
And at
just my name.
Jesus, are you done?
Yes.
And at Alysha.Summerville, because Alysha Summerville
We're
was
going
taken.
to cut that out.
Yeah.
We'll bleep that out.
Why? I am important as well. This is oppression.
Yeah. Alysha, do you have any final words for
Your last words. We're ending
Last
everything, every episode with your final words.
anything about the
The
topic?
pressure is on you.
Or just you want to shout out
Just
someone?
anything.
Stay
that you're
sexy, guys. I don't.
Amen.
That's
Bye,
true.
guys.
Bye.